Hello, this is Debra Cohen. Welcome to the podcast, A Story and a Song. I am an indie artist and an author of yet another new book that is coming out today. It is called Jewish-Palestine, Arab-Palestine, a second edition. You can find the Kindle today on Amazon. It will be available in more locations as I continue to work on distribution. The content of this book is based on my very first book that I wrote in 2024, inspired by the events that happened on October 7th, 2023 in Israel, known as the October 7th Massacre. I felt so burdened in my heart to do something to make sense of why leaders keep introducing two-state solutions that don't work. And so this first book that I wrote is a basic outline explaining the discovery of secret documents that were hidden in the UK archives by British ruling, who didn't want the world to know the truth about British Palestine. So I felt compelled at that time in 2024 to release that book. However, since the new Trump administration in 2025, I wanted to update that book, which is why I'm calling it the second edition. And I wanted to focus on explaining why Trump's RELO plan for Gaza is not that far-fetched. And I'm sharing the reasons why his suggestion, President Trump's suggestion, at the time of this recording, he's just 3 weeks in the Oval Office, and he proposed a peace and prosperity plan that I had actually mentioned in my first book. But if you want to read up-to-date information, I suggest you look for Jewish-Palestine / Arab-Palestine second edition. If you'd like to know more about this book, I encourage you to relax and listen for the next 30 minutes while I share excerpts from my new book. And I will be right back after this brief message.
Hello, this is A Story and a Song with Debra Cohen, sharing music from the 80s new wave genre to music for TV, film, and movies, as well as praise music suitable for Jewish and Christian soft rock. I share the story behind the recording of each song, as well as wisdom teachings from rabbinic sages and health topics for better senior living in the land of Florida. Please share this podcast and help it grow. Thank you. DebraCohenMusic.com.
And again, I thank you for listening. This is Debra Cohen, and I broadcast live in 3 places. YouTube channel, the handle is at Jewish Rock Music. Instagram, the handle is at DebraCohenMusic.com, spell out .com, or on my LinkedIn account. And today is a hot topic because it's all over the news, if you listen to the news, about Trump's relocation plan for Gaza. I'm like, whoa, how gutsy is that? I mean, after how many presidents, I think it was 6, that proposed two-state solutions that went nowhere, at some point you have to ask yourself, if you're sane, why do we keep doing the same thing and expecting different results? Well, I guess President Donald J. Trump figured that out, but I also believe because he is a Christian, he is inspired by the Word of God. So for those Christians and Jews and whosoever would like to hear an excerpt from today's Parsha of the week. In Judaism, we read a section of the Torah every week. So all Jews everywhere are reading the same Parsha of the Torah, which the Christians call the Old Testament. And the timing of this Parsha is outstanding in light of what Trump has proposed, and I want to share it with you. So allow me to say a blessing, because Jews say a blessing over the Torah before they actually speak it. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah. And I'm sharing from Exodus or Shemot 18. And this is the verse 11. And this is Yitro speaking, or in English, Jethro. So I want you to mark this part of the Bible and remember it well. The words of this pagan leader in Midian, Jethro, who spoke these words from the Torah. Now I know that God is greater than all the deities, for he foiled a nation's intent by turning the very scheme that they plotted against others, against themselves. So let me say a blessing after sharing that precious word. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher b'chabanu mikol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'torah. Baruch Hashem. So if you think about what I just shared with you from the Bible in the context of what's going on between Israel and Hamas, we know that Hamas wants to exterminate the Jews. Let's face it, that's really what's going on. So the plans of Hamas to try to eradicate all of the Jews in Israel, with Trump's proposal for this new RELO plan, it's flipping it on them. So Trump is proposing that the Palestinians, and granted not all of them are Hamas, but they voted for Hamas as their leader. So the leaders are freaking out, meaning Hamas, because Trump proposed this relocation plan, meaning they need to vacate anyway, regardless of what I just shared with you, because the Hamas terrorists have filled the land of Gaza with bombs and explosives meant to be for the IDF. But actually, now that the people from Gaza, the Palestinians, have moved northward again, back to their homeland, this has endangered the Palestinians, who have gone home to homes of rubble filled with explosives, ammo, and all kinds of weapons that need to be removed from that land before anybody can go back and inhabit Gaza. So this is an absolutely necessary proposal that Trump is making to at least let's first clean out the bombs, clean out the terrorists, and let's look at his RELO plan, which I have discussed in my new book. I'd like to share some excerpts from my new book and encourage you to look for it on Amazon. Right now, this morning, it's in Kindle form. It's in a revision in the paperback because I found a typo. Okay, my husband actually found it. Thank you, Marty. So let me begin and just listen about what is Trump proposing and what reasons are there to propose something like this. The Palestinian refugee crisis today is a direct result of the behind-the-scene scheming of the British in the 20th century, who ruled over Palestine, which later saw the establishment of the State of Israel. At that time, hundreds of thousands of Palestinians were displaced from their homes and became refugees, a situation that remains unresolved to this day due to the fact that the current and former Palestinian leaders refused all proposed two-state solutions, as well as the failure of the UN agency, UNRWA, to resettle the refugees to a safe location in times of the Israeli war initiated by Hamas from 2023 to the current time. Of course, religious beliefs have also played a significant role in the conflict, with both Jews and Muslims laying claim to the land based on historical and religious ties. The Bible clearly states that Israel borders from the Nile to the Euphrates rivers, whereas the Arab Palestinians today are claiming from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. Well, this has led to competing narratives and deep-seated animosity between the two communities. It could be said that this is a holy war between the God of the Torah and the God of the Quran, between the God of Israel and the God of Islam. A point in case being the vagueness in the Quran of the actual original location of the Al-Aqsa Mosque at the Temple Mount at the time of Prophet Muhammad. And keep in mind his birth was 570 AD to 632 AD at his time of death. Many Muslims today believe that this mosque is on the Temple Mount in Jerusalem. However, if you explore the information about this mosque, you will find conflicting historical information on its whereabouts, depending upon how much you dig for the information. I uncovered some interesting discoveries about the original location of this mosque as being located near Mecca. According to a Saudi journalist, there are two mosques located in Warana, which are 29 kilometers from Taif. This Al-Aqsa Mosque was built in 682 AD by Hisham after the Prophet Muhammad's death. This would be something to explore if you had lots of time and patience. And of course, you'd need to be fluent in Arabic to discover these truths. So I'd like to take a moment at this point to share a video that was posted and taken down on Facebook, but it popped up again on Twitter, and I think it's relevant to what I just read to you. Please listen.
مع السعودية ما بقى شيء ما أعطتكم إياه، حتى دولة أسست. مع السعودية ما بقى شيء ما أعطتكم إياه، حتى دولة أسست لكم دولة. الملك فهد يوم ريغان يطلب منه تمويل زوار الكونترا قال له وحدة بوحدة أبي دولة الفلسطين، قال له أبشر، ووقع الخطاب دولة الفلسطين، وعلم الملك فهد عرفات إنه حصلنا دولة فلسطينية. هرب عرفات ما شافوه إلا بعد 10 سنين من هالكلام هذا. هرب ما يبي دولة فلسطينية. كلكم ما تبون دولة فلسطينية لأن أساسا ما لكم قضية ولا لكم دولة ولا لكم أرض. هذه أرض إسرائيل بالقرى، وأنتم شتات رومان ملفقين، مغول وتركمان وشركس وأرمن وغجر، ما لكم حق بفلسطين. فلسطين هذه دولة إسرائيلية لبني إسرائيل. وبني إسرائيل لمعلوميتكم، بني إسرائيل هذولا عيال إسحاق، وحنا يا العرب عيال إسماعيل. وإسحاق وإسماعيل أخوين، أبوهم إبراهيم عليه السلام، يعني هذولا عيال عمنا. لكن أنتم منين جيتوا؟ أنتم وش دخلكم بالموضوع؟ أنتم يا الشتات يا الغجر يا المغول يا التركمان يا الشركس يا الرومان يا بقايا الشعوب، إيش دخلكم بالموضوع؟ إيش دخلكم بالسالفة؟ إيش دخلكم بيننا؟ هذا بني إسرائيل على أرضهم، ما لكم أرض أنتم ولا لكم قضية يا جماعة. أنتم أدوختونا واشغلتونا. والأقصى، الأقصى لمعلوميتكم ما عندكم أقصى، ما في شيء اسمه أقصى، في شيء اسمه القدس. المسجد الأقصى اللي ورد ذكره هو بالجعرانة 29 كيلو على الطائف، وكان المسجدين، المسجد الأقصى والمسجد الأدنى. المسجد الأقصى حقكم بناها الشام عام 72 هجري، كيف يسرى محمد؟
And this man goes on to expound upon this truth that he believes in more colorful language, which I didn't want to share with you because I don't really want to offend anybody. I just want to present the facts, just the facts. So please know that there's more than one side to every coin, and you have to understand which side is the real deal, the truth. I believe that President Trump in 2025 has embraced the biblical truth that this land that used to be called Canaan or Canaan in English belongs to the Jews. But God did not leave out any nation without land. He actually specified that the Arabs or the Palestinians in question, if you do believe the Ishmael, descendants of Ishmael, they were offered Transjordan in the Bible even. It specifically mentions it, and unless you read the Torah, you won't know this truth. I would like to continue with one more section in my book before I have to close, and I hope that you will read this book and share it with everybody. In the Bible study, this belongs in Bible studies and Jewish places of study. Everybody needs to see why President Trump has proposed this shocking RELO plan for Gaza. Let's explore how many times the Arab Palestinians have been offered a land for peace deal, with the United States overseeing this process, known as a two-state solution, by U.S. presidents. Throughout the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, multiple U.S. presidents have proposed land for peace, commonly referred to as two-state solutions, aiming to establish a peaceful coexistence between Israel and a sovereign Palestinian state. Despite these efforts, Palestinian leadership has consistently rejected these proposals. Below, in my book, is an overview of the 6 presidents who have extended such offers. 1. President Lyndon B. Johnson. In the aftermath of the 1967 Six-Day War, President Johnson advocated for Israel's withdrawal from territories occupied during the conflict in exchange for peace agreements with the Arab neighbors, including the Palestinians. This approach laid the groundwork for future land for peace deals, but the Palestinians turned it down. Number 2, President Jimmy Carter facilitated the Camp David Accords in 1978, leading to a peace treaty between Israel and Egypt. He envisioned a similar framework for the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, proposing Palestinian autonomy in the West Bank and Gaza Strip as a step toward full statehood. However, the Palestinian leadership rejected this proposal, demanding full sovereignty without interim arrangements. Number 3, President Ronald Reagan. In 1982, President Reagan introduced a peace plan advocating for Palestinian self-governance in association with Jordan, while ensuring Israel's security. The plan opposed the creation of an independent Palestinian state, but supported Palestinian autonomy. The Palestinian leadership dismissed this proposal, insisting on full independence. President number 4, Bill Clinton, hosted the 2000 Campaign David Summit, where Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Barak offered a plan for Palestinian statehood, including most of the West Bank and Gaza Strip, with East Jerusalem as its capital. Palestinian Authority President Yasser Arafat rejected this offer, leading to the collapse of the negotiations. Number 5, President George W. Bush in 2003 proposed the Roadmap for Peace, outlining a phase plan leading to a two-state solution. The plan required the Palestinian Authority to undertake political reforms and cease violence. The Palestinian leadership's failure to meet these conditions stalled the initiative. Number 6, President Barack Obama endorsed a two-state solution based on the 67 borders with mutually agreed land swaps. Despite his efforts, including a 2010 settlement freeze and direct negotiations, the Palestinian leadership rejected proposals that did not fully meet their demands, particularly concerning the right of return for refugees. In each instance, U.S. presidents have endeavored to mediate peace through proposals involving territorial compromises and the establishment of a Palestinian state. Nevertheless, the Palestinian leadership has consistently declined these offers, often due to disagreements over specific terms and conditions. And these are excerpts from my book, including number 7, President Trump, who proposed a different kind of two-state solution, a solution for peace and prosperity plan, aka RELO plan. I'd like to close by sharing an earth-shattering presentation by former President Bill Clinton, who chose to tell the truth about his peace plan with Palestinians at the presidential campaign in 2024 with Harris. At her podium, he chose to drop this bomb, so to speak, at the Democratic convention and told the truth about what happened, which I just read, when he tried to negotiate a peace plan with the Palestinians. I didn't see any media about this. I think it's very important that we see this. So take a look.
This is Debra Cohen, and you asked me to give you one good reason why you should read my book about Palestine.
And the only time Yasser Arafat didn't tell me the truth was when he promised me he was going to accept the peace deal that we had worked out, which would have given the Palestinians a state on 96% of the West Bank and 4% of Israel, and they got to choose where the 4% of Israel was. So they would have the effect of the same land of all the West Bank. They would have a capital in East Jerusalem. They would have I can hardly talk about this. And they would have equal access all day, every day, to the security towers that Israel maintained all through the West Bank up to the Golden Heights. All this was offered, including, I will say it again, a capital in East Jerusalem and 2 of the 4 quadrants of the old city of Jerusalem, confirmed by the Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Barak and his cabinet. And they said no. And I think part of it is that Hamas did not care about a homeland for the Palestinians. They wanted to kill Israelis and make Israel uninhabitable. Well, I got news for them. They were there first. Before their faith existed, they were there. In the time of King David, and the southernmost tribes had Judea and Samaria.
So there you have it. I mean, the media in America should have been exploding with this bomb that President Clinton, I shouldn't say bomb because, you might think I'm literal, this information that reveals that two-state solutions don't work with these people because they don't want peace. They want to exterminate the Jews and ruin the land. If they can't have the land, then nobody will have it. And so you've got to read my book. At the time of that ad that you just saw with Clinton, I was posting from my first edition book, but I would like you to get the second edition because it includes the most current information about President Trump's RELO plan. Now, at the time that I wrote my first book, I also, after I released the book, and keep in mind that was my first attempt at a book, so critics be kind. Just skip the first book and get the second edition. Jewish Palestine / Arab Palestine, second edition. All right, so I felt like there was something else I could do as an indie artist and an author to raise awareness of what Hamas is doing and why aren't they condemned globally as a terrorist organization. Somebody somewhere dropped the ball on this, and that's what this second edition book is about, what you can do to get this to happen. Hamas is purely a terrorist organization. Let's call it what it is, people, so Israel can be more effective in the war against Hamas and Hezbollah. Well, I just also wrote a song, being an indie artist, called This Land My Home, writing on behalf of Israel and the Jews that just want to live in peace on their own land, their God-given land. So if you're like rolling your eyes or spewing hatred, your problem is not with the Jews, it's really with the God of Israel. So, take it up with the authority. But consider these truths. Listen to this song I'm going to share in closing, the words for Israel in regards to this Israeli-Palestinian conflict. And really pray about it. Thank you for listening, and I hope to see you again next week, Sundays at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time, for a story and a song.
This land, my home, where the desert blooms life and song. We can see the love of God in our Garden of Eden, with loving eyes of moral purity, and have respect for all human life. And what we speak are words of love for our brothers and sisters near and far. This place, my home, in my mind I'm still trying to find it. What I'm seeing is not what John imagined in the song. Maybe it's only a dream, but I feel it in my bones. A place I can call home. So I will journey on to the land of the living soul, where one day we'll be free and unafraid, just to be with love all around us. No harm, no fear around me, where we can walk easily in the joy of our very soul. No longer am I looking over my shoulder. the hatred has been taken from the rib of man, that's when our world will be a place called home. Oh, sweet home.